Hey, how's it going? Matt Ackerson here, the founder of AutoGrow.co, as you probably maybe already know. And I put together this 53-point perfect conversion checklist for you to help you do conversion rate optimization quickly on your website, even if you're a startup or you don't have a lot of traffic. And this checklist I put together after reading through and studying line by line over 300 A/B tested conversion case studies. So it's based on hard data, on observation, based on the work of other conversion consultants and agencies who were generous enough to actually publish their findings on the web. So everything that I learned from reading through hundreds of these case studies, which ultimately became the Proven Sales Conversion Pack, um, also I used to create this checklist. I'm an experienced entrepreneur. If you don't know me, have over 12 years in the business so far. I have worked with over 650, rather completed over 650 projects for clients since 2010 when we were an agency up until 2018. Now we are a products business. So I just want to run through the checklist here really quickly. I want to inform you of a couple of things and some of the most interesting points, and then I'll give you a call to action to take the next step after that. Okay? So the checklist itself is I organized it based on what I created from my observations even before I created the conversion pack, which was the 11 laws of sales funnel physics. Okay? And the sales funnel physics laws, these are also based on observation of understanding, okay, how do you actually drive customers into a sales funnel and down to the point of making a purchase decision. So I organized it based on those 11 laws. And I think you'll agree that based on how it's broken up, it makes a lot of sense. So for example, we start with the first law here, the law of confidence, uh, which is that people want they want what is perceived as being popular and trustworthy. Okay. So how do you make yourself look popular and trustworthy? Well, you usually, in most cases, will use social proof or implied social proof. So what that often looks like is, using press logos, for example. We actually use these on our website to establish credibility, saying, okay, these are places where we've actually been published, like Inc. Magazine, for example, Entrepreneur. Um, Even something as simple as advertising your social media follower count, though, which is what is considered a vanity stat or vanity metric, even something as simple as that can dramatically grow your conversion rate. So don't underestimate the power of that. Don't think, oh, well, that's cheesy. No one believes that, because as I've seen from reading these A/B tested case studies, it does have an impact. Okay, obviously, authentic testimonials and certain other types of social proof will have, in most situations, a stronger impact, but vanity stats can certainly move the needle. Second is law of visibility. If it isn't seen, it won't sell. Pretty self-explanatory. This is all about making highly visible that which people aren't aware of. I remember one case study that we had as an agency was working with a client on a membership website, and when I did conversion rate optimization for them and for their sales funnel, one of the biggest reasons why people weren't buying, at least 50% of the time, was that they simply didn't even know that this offer was available. So you have to make your offers highly visible. Next is law of repetition. Say it again uh, because I might change my mind. In other words, sometimes people will miss the email that you send out. They won't actually, sorry about that. So as I was saying, so people often won't actually see the email that you send out, or they'll forget, or they think, okay, well, I'll decide on this, or I'll come back and read about this more later another time. So by repeating yourself, you are, just by the act of doing it, uh, helping to incrementally increase your conversion rate. Now, you want to be cool about how you do it. You don't want to just keep saying the same thing over and over again, because that can hurt your brand and make you look annoying. YouTube does this. Um, Amazon, on the other hand, does it in a really cool way. They use the law of repetition in a very effective way that I'll probably tell you more about another day. But it's as simple as repeating your primary call to action page on a key landing page, for instance, okay? Or following up using an email automation that addresses people's different objections and questions that they might have about your product or service. Law of clarity: be clear, not clever. So this part of the checklist deals with, how can you clarify for people what it is that you are offering? Because if there is no understanding of what it is, there's going to be equally as much understanding in terms of how it is valuable or how it works to solve a specific problem for your target audience, okay? And one underrated point that I'll cover here, visual clarity is as powerful as clarity in terms of copy, okay? So we had a really interesting example of this, and you can see it on the case study here, where just by making the images of this downloadable application bigger on the page and adding more of them, this increased the clarity on the page and grew the conversion rate by 85%. Next is law of maximization. Basically, with this one, you just want to talk about benefits. Okay, benefits, benefits, benefits. Why, and also, why should people buy from you now? State your unique selling proposition, followed up with clear, easy to understand benefits of why it's valuable. The law of alignment: basically, you want your page to be like a mirror to your customers' preferences, both conscious and unconscious. So it's a bit of a longer discussion for, how do you actually uncover these preferences, especially the unconscious ones. Combination of, research, survey, user test, that sort of thing. Definitely read the article in full for hints on how to do that. But the basic thing here, and probably the easiest thing that a lot of people overlook, is the words that you use on your call to action button. They set a specific example. So if you say add to cart, but you're actually taking people to the checkout page, this can hurt the conversion rate. Or if you talk about view pricing, but really you're taking them to the checkout page, or you're kind of like setting expectation, and then if you don't follow through with it, this is an example of misalignment. Okay, or if, for example, it could be an unconscious preference would be something like color choice, um, but often in those cases you would need to A/B test to really ferret those out. You can see a really good example of a case study here from Optimizely, where they had 3 different ads going to the same a landing page with the same designed form. But in another case, in the variation where they tested, they were able to increase their leads by almost 40% by making the text on the form match with the headline of the ad that people click to actually get there. So the law of emotion, all right? In other words, we buy for reasons unrelated to value, like a desire for status, kindness, guilt, a feeling of obligation. And this is, I would say, one of the more advanced laws, and you don't, like, there is a level of priority to the laws that I'm still kind of investigating and researching, so in other words, which ones have more power or priority, because sometimes the different laws in different cases, they're competing with one another. And sometimes visibility, for example, matters more than clarity, something like that. But with the law of emotion, you want to get the clarity down first and then focus on emotion. Okay, so it's more of an advanced tactic. And an example of that would be, to sell based on emotion. It's to sell based on the lifestyle, for example, that if you are selling, I think of some marketers out there that I respect, although I'll probably never buy their products. They will pose in front of their expensive, New York office with, like a 50 or $100,000 car behind them, um, and they'll look all professional and whatever, and obviously they're trying to sell you on a certain lifestyle along with their product, and that's kind of an aspirational sale, if you will. So that's an example of selling with the law of emotion. Law of range, one of the more difficult laws to implement basically is that, the more offers that you have out there, the more customers, the more subscribers, the more clients that you can actually convert. Because if people can find the solution to their problem in the form of, an advertised service or product on your website, they're much more likely to convert. So therefore, having more offers that can appeal to different segments of your audience will naturally lead uh, to a higher conversion rate overall. Okay, this also works in terms of providing a range of pricing options too. The law of loss. Basically, we as humans we're fearful creatures. Okay, and we respond much much more strong to the perceived risk of losing out on something, missing an opportunity, losing out on time or money or this is why you see a lot of marketers, like they have a launch event. They'll have a special discount going on, and I've used this too in many of our product launches as well, because it works extremely well, and it helps to give people a clear incentive to make a buying decision now rather than waiting until the future. Finally, the law of friction. This is one of the most cited reasons for a low conversion rate that was holding back companies in the 313 A/B tested proven case studies that I evaluated to create the sales conversion pack. So the law of friction is basically difficulty or distraction that holds customers back, okay? So for example, there was this company, VeggieTales, right? And at the point of checkout, they had, a navigation bar and some other, links and imagery. And they found that simply by removing those elements, that conversions increased something like, I believe it was 28%. So 28% more sales, okay? Here's another example in terms of lead generation, how actually just making the masthead design, this background design at the top of this page for this freight moving company, that leads tripled. They increased by 238%, more than tripled actually, okay, since doubling would be 100%, right? And finally, the 11th law, which is not relevant for creating this conversion checklist, it deals with traffic, so I didn't include it here, but if you're not already subscribed to our newsletter, I encourage you to, because it's something that I will talk about in detail in the future, okay? So my call to action for you is take action right now. Download your copy of this 53-point conversion checklist and start benefiting from it. All right? I'll talk to you soon. Keep hustling. Stay focused.